What's good people, and welcome back to the channel, KruboyProductions. My name is BK, and this is the Silly, Nerdy, and Wordy Podcast, episode 62, Thunderbolts Spoiler Review. In this video, I'll be giving my spoiler review thoughts on the latest MCU film, Thunderbolts, and some nerdy notes on the film. What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody is doing very well. Hope you had a great week and great weekend. I am back and happy to be doing another episode, and let's not waste any time. Again, before I do, this is going to be a spoiler review. So if you have not seen the movie, this is your spoiler warning. You have been warned. Let's not waste any time and let's get into the nerdy notes. And in this nerdy notes, I'm going to be focusing in on the film, talking about a few things. Florence Pugh's stunt at the beginning of the film, as well as just filming in Malaysia. Of course, the stunt that she jumps off of the second tallest building in the world in Malaysia. It was Florence that did this stunt. She fought very hard to do the stunt herself. And then you see recently, before the movie release, Disney Plus release a special look and to some behind the scenes featurettes, which I love. And she did this stunt at the beginning of the film. It's at the beginning of the film, but you see how the stunt team got everything together for her to do this stunt, the practicing and with the whole team, the rigs and all of that. But also during the press tour, she talked to GSC Cinema's YouTube channel. And GSC Cinemas is Golden Screen Cinemas. And that is a movie theater chain that is within Malaysia. And she was interviewed by them and she talked about doing this stunt, and she was really excited to do it. A little nervous, but excited to do it. And she also mentioned that this was kind of one of the last things that they did in this movie, because they had finished filming. I'm paraphrasing. They finished filming pretty much everything. Most of all of principal photography was done. And so the things that they filmed in Malaysia in terms of the stunt jumping off of the building, as well as the explosion of that building, that was the last thing that they did for the filming of this movie. And sometimes it works out that way, that the very last thing that you do is sometimes the beginning of the movie and vice versa. So she talked about that in that interview, and she, like I said, she really wanted to do this stunt. And like I said, Disney Health and Safety initially said no, but she was ultimately able to do that stunt. Another thing I wanted to mention, that the film budget of this Thunderbolts movie is $180 million. And as of now, opening weekend, this film made $162 million worldwide, both domestic and globally. So that's pretty good, and they're on track to definitely pass that $180 million budget and hopefully make a profit. So it's off to a good start for sure. We'll see how it goes in the second week. Okay, let's get into the main topic, and of course, spoiler review of this Thunderbolts movie. And this is your last spoiler warning, but you've already been spoiled a little bit anyway because of what I said at the beginning, but the last warning. And so this movie, first, let's talk about the director. The director is Jake Schreier, and some of his previous credits include Robot and Frank, which was in 2012, Paper Towns, released in 2015. Now, the cast includes Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Sebastian Stan, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Louis Pullman, Wyatt Russell, and Geraldine Viswanathan. And those are the main cast, as well as many others. And I also want to shout out the writers and the screenwriters. Hats off to them, because the way they place the story together and interconnectedness with the MCU, and the timing of the comedy and the heart, as well as the action, everything just fit well together for me. Now, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a great time, and everything, for the most part, I would say everything worked for me. The MCU connectivity of it all, just kind of referencing all the characters and what's happened in the past with them, whether it was previous movies or previous Disney Plus shows, all of that, they did it in a very fluid way, pretty good, and mixed in with some little comedy in there with a few of them, with all of the main characters in this Thunderbolt. So very good on that. And like I said, the timing of the jokes, it was a great balance of jokiness and seriousness and heart, and the way the story went, I loved. And then the way they introduced Sentry, that was pretty good as well. And his arc as well, starting out the way he did, and then for a chunk of the movie being a villain, and then the way they went about the choices they made for him ultimately turning over and being good. I felt like it was earned. They didn't rush it. The way the story went between how he was and how Florence Pugh's character was and how she got him to turn, and then the other characters came along and kind of setting that up at the beginning for each of the characters as he was entering in their in their dreams, in their subconscious. So very good in the way they did that. And then in terms of performances, for me, Florence Pugh's character, Yelena, she stood out. She was the lead of this film. She led this film. She had great comedy. She had the action. She had the heart. All of her interactions with all the different characters and the relationships, it just was really good. And the different choices that were made, I thoroughly enjoyed her performance. And she's just been doing good stuff these last few years between the MCU and Dune. And I'm sure she'll be doing other things as well. But she was the standout for me. And the music and the score and the sound, very memorable. Everything hit for me. I enjoyed all of it. And I caught on that there is a Thunderbolts theme. They have a theme music in this film, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. And then the songs and the musics in other parts of the films and the action part was very well placed for those particular moments. And then I'll also say at the very end, right before they go to the credits, the Thunderbolts theme is playing. And then when Valentina says, these are the new Avengers, and, one of them comes up to speak and she says, we own you now. They start to play the Thunderbolts theme, and then at the very end, the last couple of seconds, they sneak in the original Avengers theme. And so I thought that was very genius, the way they kind of slid that in there at the very end. I like that. So pretty good putting that in there. I really enjoyed it. And the pacing and the rhythm of this film, really great. And it had my attention from the very beginning. I like the tone that was set up, the way Yelena was voicing over herself as she was going through and doing these action scenes and this hand-to-hand combat, and ultimately jumping off of the building as she was talking to a guy that was tied up. But the way that setup was great. And again, this movie had my attention from start to finish. And this, for me, it was just, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not being, nobody's paying me for this. That's just my personal opinion, my thoughts. And let's get into post-credit scenes. Of course, there's one mid-credit scenes where Red Guardian, he's in the grocery store, the Wheaties box, and that was nice, a nice comedy moment. But the main post-credit scene at the end there, when there's, time jump, was it 14 months later? And, they have different hairstyles. Their uniforms are upgraded a little bit. They have looks like the Avengers Tower is now fully rebuilt. The way they had the comedy in there, I thought it was pretty good. But the conversations that they were having, and then the potential conflict with Captain America, of course, now Sam Wilson, the conflict that he was having with Yelena and copywriting. So that was pretty interesting to do that. So they're setting up a little bit of conflict there in future films. And then, of course, getting to the meat of the post-credit scene. Obviously, they say something's coming in the atmosphere, and then we see the ship, we see the Four. It's the Fantastic Four coming in to the atmosphere. And so really masterful job in terms of setting up the next MCU film. Of course, Fantastic Four First Steps is going to be the next film that comes out in July of this year. And so we know that the film is set up that they're in a different universe and they are in the 60s, I believe. So ultimately, that film is going to end with them coming out of that universe somehow and into the current universe of the MCU, which is, I believe, Earth 616. And so how that happens within that movie, we will see in July. And so really great job of setting that up and how it's going to go. I'm thinking that's possibly going to be a post-credit scene, perhaps, in that film, or at least one of the post-credit scenes in terms of them leaving and coming into the current universe, or maybe they land and then they will meet somebody from this current universe. Who that will be, who knows? But great job in setting up the post-credit scene, and that was one of the longest post-credit scenes, so it was definitely worth the wait to the end there. So that is most of the things I wanted to cover. Yeah, this was a very fun movie. And would I want to watch this again? I definitely would. And I'm thinking about possibly maybe seeing it a second time in theaters. And it is definitely Blu-ray worthy. I definitely want to purchase this film and watch the production featurettes and see how this was made. I'm excited to see that once it's available, and I'll probably get it later this year. For me, this was a great movie. Just the balance of everything from, like, again, the story, the heart, the action, the comedy, everything just hit for me. The music, the score, the Thunderbolts themes, I enjoyed that as well. And yeah, just great all around movie for me. And we'll see how it does in the second week. Of course, we have other movies coming out this month. So I think I'm going to stop there. I think that's all I have for now. I hope you enjoyed this spoiler review. And if you like what I'm doing here, subscribe, like, and comment, and follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And this was fun. And that is all I'm going to have for you today. So until next time, we will talk soon.